opportunity to speak to those dignitaries, indeed marking that those foreign dignitaries that were also announced by the Minister of ICT have started to land in. Of course, the list has not yet ended. We expect more arrivals. We also saw that the former president, of Finland has also arrived in Namibia. Now, Finland is significant because they have a good relationship. If you remember, Matti Ahtisaari was crucial towards the independence of Namibia and also assisted in so many ways. So, indeed, relationships continue to be molded, and we'll continue to receive more dignitaries. And Denver, Kisting and the team are currently at Parliament Gardens, as we know that the remains are now accessible to members of the public for them to be able to view. We know that the body will lie in state until tomorrow morning, sometime tomorrow morning, where we anticipate that, of course, around about 10 there, that the body is expected to be moved, that is to the Independence Stadium, where the official memorial will be held. We know that in terms of us entering day 19th of national mourning, which is today, following the death of then founding President Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma on the 8th of February 2025. Regional memorial services honoring the late founding president have been concluded, with the last one having taken place yesterday in Keetmanshoop, that is catering for both Hardap as well as the Karas region, following others that were hosted at the Tunda village, Enana, Rundu, Katima Mulilo, Grootfontein, and Walfish Bay. And this morning we also saw when the remains departed, that is from the Keetmans Airport, and landing at the Hosea Kutako International Airport. We know that there was also a silent gun. That means in terms of receiving those remains, we know that the Chief of the Defense Force also then was at a small ceremony that took place at the airport, where the CDF reported and invited His Excellency Dr. Nangolo Mba, President of the Republic of Namibia and Commander-in-Chief, to receive the casket. As you know, that this was a delegated function that is to the Chief of the Namibian Defense Force by the President. He reported that the casket has come back, but at the same time, we also saw the CDF requesting permission to take the casket for the ceremonial procession route and invite the President to join the procession. We know that has taken place was also, we saw that the Guard of Honor played, that is a melody, and we have seen the street procession take place here throughout Windhoek from B6 Road all the way to Semniova Drive, and also through roads such as David Hosea Meroro Road, Winnie Madikizela Mandela Road, Independence Avenue, and then eventually it ended up here in town, Robert Mugabe, and now we know that the remains have officially arrived at Parliament Gardens, and there was that small ceremony where scripture reading was also done by the NDF chaplain, and we know that viewing of the body has commenced as announced earlier, and that people continue obviously to pay their last respect, and that the remains will indeed lie in state until tomorrow morning. We understand now Denver Kisting, our colleague, and the team at Parliament are ready for us. Denver, good evening, and it's over to you.
Good evening to you and yours, Namibia. My name is Denver Kisting. You tuned in to a very special broadcast as we continue to pay homage to the life and legacy of Namibia's founding president and father of the Namibian nation, Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma, who passed away on the 8th of February 2025 and will be laid to rest this coming Saturday, the 1st of March 2025. And we're coming to you live from Parliament Gardens, where Dr. Nujoma's body will lie in state until tomorrow morning. And we are witnessing solemn scenes. Esme Songbird and her band playing music and singing songs, paying tribute, paying homage with music in the background, but also scores of Namibians here in the Namibian capital who have been flocking here very consistently, but more so since after 5 o'clock this afternoon, to come and pay their last respects, to come and say goodbye to President Nujoma. Now, do remember that as the NBC, we bring you coverage around the life and times, but also the proceedings for Dr. Nujoma on all our platforms. That's television, that's online, particularly on our YouTube channel, and certainly also on all our 11 radio stations. So you are able to tune in at any time at your convenience. Also, do remember the NBC Plus application that you can download irrespective of the nature and the origin of your smartphone, to make sure that you can, as the proceedings unfold in real time, stay abreast of those developments. Now, for a very specific niche perspective on the extent to which Dr. Nujoma made a contribution, his presidency helped capacitate economic growth and development. We're honored to be joined this evening by renowned economist, Mr. Solemn Hay. Greetings, Mr. Hay, and thank you very much for making time for us.
Good evening, Denver, and good evening to your viewers, and thank you for having me.
Very well, Mr. Hay. Before we get into the business of the day and as far as it relates to Dr. Nujoma's contribution to economic growth and development, first things first, what do you believe this loss means for Namibia and our people? What do you make of the end of this era, as has been referred to the death of President Sam Nujoma?
So, Denver, I think with the passing of President Nujoma, we are really saying goodbye to an outstanding representative of the Namibian people. You must remember that President Nujoma essentially comes from an era where it was not fashionable to do what they attempted to do at the time. You must also remember that President Nujoma comes from a time where we are starting to build what we know now as nationalism, where we did not have the current problems around tribal issues. And President Nujoma is really one of the most special leaders that we had in Namibia because he was identified by a survivor of the war of land the war of land for dispossession, Chief Hosea Kutako. And remember that that comes from the genocide era where Chief Hosea Kutako was part of the front line at the time. You know that Chief Hosea Kutako died with a bullet residue in his jaw, right? So you're speaking of someone who really passed on the torch to President Nujoma. And also, if you look at the different tribes at the time, historically, the land for dispossession was waged by the Namas and the Ovaherero people. Hosea Kutako himself was the chief of the Ovaherero people and a survivor of the genocide. And President Nujoma comes from the Ovambo tribe, if you will. And for Chief Kutako to actually see through all of that and still identify President Nujoma as really the heir that will bring about the petition that they initially launched, but also at the same time to bring about the independence that we are currently enjoying. So we are saying goodbye to a very, very special leader, a man who defined a generation, a man who will live long in the memories of those that are yet to come.
Thank you for those insights, Mr. Hay. The fact of the matter is President Nujoma then understood the assignment and he executed. And he executed very well, else what you and I are able to enjoy today would certainly not have been possible. Now, if we have a conversation around a founding president's contribution to that unfolding country's economic growth and development, one has to understand the base from which you start. And very often, at least that's my observation, we do not understand how complex the history of structural inequality actually is that we inherited at the time that we had to start a brand new country. Talk to us about what did the system, what did the picture look like in terms of the economy that we inherited at independence?
Yeah. Well, it was really an economy of very few, right? Economic opportunities were essentially, it came along racial lines, white and black. You remember that during the time, during the apartheid era, you, as a black person, you couldn't go past grade 8, which is standard 6, and there were certain jobs that were earmarked for obviously the previously disadvantaged, if I may use the term. And what then means is that they could also only be meaningfully employed in certain jobs only. Teachers and perhaps nurses who are perceived to be the more glamorous, if it were. Now, what you then create is a divide between access to opportunities and being able to advance the majority. So you would have then a greater deficit in skills in the majority, right? So skills deficit would then mean they are less likely to be employable because they do not have skills, right? So because it was designed to keep them out of the economic mainstream, right? So this is structural issues. This is a deliberate effort to keep a certain section of the populace out of economic activity, denying them to upskill themselves, and. So you then would automatically have a bigger unemployment among the less skilled, which is essentially the majority of the population. Again, for opportunities, again for schools, it was exactly segregated along those lines. So President Nujoma then comes in and have to navigate both on the political context in terms of making sure that we are building a country where everyone should thrive in. One Namibia, one nation.
That's no small or minor assignment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you must remember that on the one side, you are coming from a highly volatile political environment during the 80s, leading us into what we then now know as the Resolution 435 from the UN. And
just one moment. So that volatile environment, Mr. Hay, certainly would also have had a bearing on the capacity and the ability of the majority to access this economy from which they were structurally excluded.
Absolutely. And at the same time, you need to run a very fine balance between making sure you've got your eye on the future, but at the same time trying to open up opportunities for the majority that were excluded. And at the political level, remember that President Nujoma had to bring in a very diverse cabinet to be able to make sure that you are then able to balance out all of these competing interests, the volatility of the majority, to be able to make sure that their interests are sort of taken care of, the previously advantaged that still had the levers of power and the levers of the economy, to be able to make sure that nothing terrible happens, to be able to make sure that there's continuity and we are then able to build through this. And I think you needed a president of the caliber of President Nujoma to be able to speak to national reconciliation, to be able to speak to establishing institutions of higher learning and expanding those that were there. Also going further in his own personal capacity to advance himself, to see education as the greatest equalizer. Because once you have acquired the skills, you are then in a position to be able to access the opportunities. And it is
or create them yourself.
And create them not only for yourself, but also the ripple effect or the multiplier effect that can come to the greater Namibian economy or Namibian society. So at an advanced age, he enrolls to go to school, to be a path, to really be a torch barrier in trying to inform the younger generation that the only way we are going to advance the economy and see growth that is inclusive will be through making sure we acquire the necessary skills. Namibia is a mineral-rich country, so President Nujoma obviously then did geology, and through that to really understand how we can give our resources practical expression in making sure that it benefits the majority through all of these structural issues that we had in the past.
Speaking of that practical expression, Mr. Hay, I want us to provide some particulars on the work under the guidance of President Nujoma that we then did embark upon as a country to correct the wrongs from the past, but also to get this ship sailing and in the manner that it continues to do 35 years down the line, whilst we remain aware of the challenges that persist that we need to keep working on.
Yeah. So one of the things that we can really be proud of during the President Nujoma's time, remember that one of the success stories that we have around mining today is really the establishment of De Beers, Deb Marine, the negotiations that took place there to be able to build this huge industry that for a large part of our economic life has been the mainstay and the bedrock of the Namibian economy. It was essentially during President Nujoma's time. You remember that Deb Marine is now a world-class institution. But the initiatives to bring it to where it is today started with President Nujoma. Remember that we inherited an economy that's structurally unbalanced, and one way of doing that was intervening in the fishing sector, right? The allocation of quotas to Namibians. Again, those were initiatives that came through President Nujoma. Remember that there was the call to action for the railways to be constructed and to be rehabilitated. And remember that the railway is an important conduit for moving goods and services, whether it's into the port or outside of the port. And more so also for the landlocked countries, and him being a Pan-Africanism, saw that we need to build some of these railways should be rehabilitated to be able to run and assist by bringing goods into proximity to the landlocked countries like your Zambia, your Botswana, because the railway runs until Hobabes. This one runs until in the north until Grootfontein, down south, and all of this. I think in some instances we have not been able to keep up with the momentum of some of these initiatives that were built to really get us on track and become...
Many of them are also very capital intensive, of course.
For sure.
And as a government, one then has the responsibility, because there are continuously competing interests. How do you prioritize the well-being of your people whilst also continuing with capital investments?
Yeah. So essentially, Denver, I think as part of the ongoing economic conversation, I think ultimately what we want is essentially to have more people paying tax as opposed to more people on social welfare, right? To the extent that these capital projects should be executed to be able to create the necessary jobs. And through that, you then have more people paying tax because there's disposable income that they are earning, and subsequently you'd have a smaller portion and really the advance in the elderly, to have your social net, because we've got a very young population. I think around 65% of our population are below the age of 35. So what that means is that you've got a productive citizenry that you want to build through jobs as opposed to keeping them on welfare or unemployment benefits. So to the extent that the environment that was created at that point was really to open up opportunities, make sure that every Namibian has got a chance to be able to advance himself, to be able to build businesses, and. So I think we are indeed saying goodbye to a golden generation of leaders that have paved the way, and I think also they have really completed the political struggle, if it were. And you also remember that in his pronouncements, he would always say that the economic emancipation continues. We must make sure that our resources in our country works for every Namibian. And remember that some of the inequalities that we are currently experiencing is not necessarily, it comes from what you spoke about initially in terms of those structural issues.
That we had inherited.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there's a need to structurally intervene to be able to make sure that we deal with these issues. There should be deliberate efforts to advance previously disadvantaged Namibians. I mean, if you think about, for instance, the discovery of oil and gas. I mean, there's been ongoing conversations around policies, around local content, and.
I wish we had the entire evening to talk about these very important matters. This is a very challenging. In fact, it's not possible to have a conversation about Dr. Nujoma's contribution to economic growth and development without having due regard to his blueprint, namely Vision 2030, and the strides that we have made, but also what it is that we need to do to deal with the gaps. But as we wrap up our conversation this evening, what is your message to your fellow Namibians about the work that we need to do as a people to honor his legacy so that we do accomplish, that we do attain economic emancipation?
Well, I think that the country that has been bequeathed to us is a country that we must build, is a country that we must jealously guard, to be able to make sure that we advance the gains that were laid by the founding fathers and the generations before them. Namibia is pre-industrialization. We definitely have to industrialize as a country. There's no way that a country with the level of skills, the level of young, unemployed people that we have, that you can leapfrog industrialization. These were the vision that the founding fathers had for our country. And as part of fulfilling those visions, we must all work towards industrializing Namibia, creating opportunities, creating jobs so that every Namibian can feel part of the Namibian growth story.
Thank you, sir. Okoe Pashinene.
Thank you very much.
That was renowned economist Mr. Salamohe talking to us about the system that we inherited in terms of the economy when this country had attained its independence in 1990 and what needed to happen under the leadership of President Nujoma, what continues to happen, and how we also as a people have our work cut out for us to continue honoring his legacy and the contributions that he and those who fought for the country's independence made. So what we need to do is to accept responsibility of our part. We will continue with more conversations in a moment. quite a daunting task to capture the essence of 95 years in general, but particularly in as far as that relates to the function of speaking about Dr. Sam Nujoma's life. From where you stand, based on your own lived experience, what do you make of the man that we were blessed to have for such a long time, being Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma?
Well, as you rightly said, it's difficult to talk about a lifespan of 95 years, and I've personally been interacting with him for the last 50 years or so, having met for the first time in 1974 at Shatotwa, and then in Lusaka in those early years, and also then, of course, after independence. But so as Sam Nujoma as a person is very warm, very friendly, and he enjoyed good conversations with friends. And by interacting with him at that early stage, you get inspiration. You know, you saw in him, while he was a father figure to most of us, he was a leader, and he would always, his concern is always the independence of Namibia, service to the people of Namibia, the development of Namibia, and of course the issue of national unity or unity in general was so key. He will talk about national unity, he will talk about the unity of Africa.
Thank you, Ambassador. Before we proceed, you're not the first person to refer to him as a father figure, but what role did he play in your life in that particular regard?
In my life, when I met him in Lusaka, that time he was even driving himself. There was no that level of security. And he would come to the house where we're staying with his own little blue car. I can't call what made it was. And you say, Mwende, let's go to the market. We'll go to the market in Lusaka, buy some bananas, and go to his house in Kamwala. And then, of course, relax. And then he will tell stories about the old location. He will reminisce a lot of the people that he met, of course, my father included, and several others. And so from that point of view, for that period, he was really a father figure. But at every single moment, he will not fail to remind you of the responsibility that we have to free our country. But you feel secured in his presence.
Reflecting on that responsibility to free a country, it certainly was a mammoth task. How seriously did he take that responsibility?
Well, he took that responsibility seriously. He will talk about it all the time, in wherever you meet him, but leave alone that he will work on it. He will crisscross the world. He will talk to African leaders. He will talk to different organizations, solidarity organizations, of course, petition the UN. So his life was about the struggle, leave alone going to the front, addressing fighters, and, of course, giving instructions. So his life was about the struggle, really.
And of course, the struggle was coupled with a lot of sacrifice.
Yes, indeed.
Do we understand the price that this man paid to help free this country?
I think that generation of leaders, Sam Nujoma in particular as a leader of the Namibian Revolution and others, had no life, no private life, but the struggle was their life. They did everything for the liberation of this country. And also that passion that went into the struggle came into nation building, came into unifying the people, and also his great dreams of the development of this country. He had dreams. Sometimes you may say some of them were unrealistic, but as a leader you have to dream. He would dream about water coming from the Congo through into Namibia, and you know, he dreamed about a lot of things that he wanted this country. And I think that is what we take, that our founding father had these great ideas, and he also had a very clear idea about the development model, the involvement of the people in the process of development, so that it's not only government doing things, but people have to be involved. A good example is, of course, the railway, where he went there. And he was leading by example. He would go to the field to inspire farmers, but then he would also go and cultivate and would plant. So that is the kind of person he was. He would, you know, he lived his beliefs, and he led by examples.
A blueprint for the development that you're talking about is, of course, Vision 2030 and all the accompanying national development plans. One that still serves a very important purpose as we are getting ready for that very 2030. How instrumental was Vision 2030 as a blueprint to guide this country towards development?
I think Vision 2030 may be underplayed, but it is, in fact, a very important blueprint, because that is the definition of the terminal society we want. This is how we want Namibia to look like come 2030. We may be a bit ambitious in terms of you know, the level of development we want, the dream of education for all, healthcare, and a modern industrialized society. And therefore, we have set a clear objective. We are moving forward with various development plans to reach that objective. But it is important that we have defined that society, the society we want our children to grow up in, the society we want, you know, that we want to live in and to die in.
At the very least, as an ideal to strive towards, Ambassador.
Yes, and I wouldn't say it's ideal, you know, because a lot of thinking went into that. And it's more the desirable society. And there's a difference between what is desirable and what is feasible. But then to make, to realize the desirable, it requires certain actions, certain investments. And that is what we have been, or that the government and the people of Namibia collectively have been working on for the last 35 years or so. Some progress have been made, and the speed maybe is not what we expected. Because to start with, you know, Vision 2030, for us to say we want to achieve that level of development
and be an industrialized people
within a period of about 40 years. You know, that is how ambitious it was. And very few countries have actually done that, except the Eastern European countries after the Socialist Revolution. They really went out to create a modern society. Of course, you can fold it for, you know, certain things, but in terms of creating that society, in terms of creating infrastructure and so forth, was unprecedented.
Very well. Ambassador, we were fortunate enough to have him around for 95 years, but certainly this loss comes with consequences. What does it mean for Namibia? What does it mean for the African continent, particularly against the backdrop of what it is that we need to do to fulfill those plans, to accomplish those goals regarding the development of our people?
Well, I would say that the mission of Sam Nujoma has been accomplished. He did what he did during his lifetime and during his time in office. And then from there, it is a vision that we have to take forward.
And we being you and I.
And being you and I. And so therefore, we are bidding farewell to him in the understanding that he paved the way for us to move forward. And therefore, it's not really a question of, it's a great loss, but his ideas, his ideals, and also his spirit, those of us who have worked closely with him, his spirit, his enthusiasm for things. There is so much that our generations and the people, of course, the generation before us have learned from him, and we are carrying that with us. So, yes, indeed, because nobody lives forever, but his ideas, his ideas will live on.
Ambassador,
And I hope hope and believe that a lot of them will become a reality in our lifetime.
Ambassador, as we're starting to wrap up our conversation, where we are is not without significance. You were part of the Constituent Assembly that gave rise to the Namibian Constitution, out of which 3 organs of state were born, and one of which is the legislature that is housed here. What is the significance of this space, and where President Nujoma's body will also lie in state during the course of the night for Namibians to say goodbye to him?
I think this space represents, you can say, is the embodiment of the values and aspirations of the people of Namibia, as articulated in the Constitution. The values of national unity, the values of integrity, and of course, particularly the territorial integrity, that we are free as a country, and therefore, I think this space means a lot to us as a nation, because it is here where the nation was founded, as it were.
The nation was born right here.
The nation was born right here.
Ambassador Okoye Pashinene,
thank you very much.
thank you for your time. Thank you for your great contribution also to this republic. And thank you for those insights.
And thank you. We'll continue to interact and...
Veteran diplomat and political analyst, Dr. Kairam Mwende, talking to us about the life and times of Namibia's founding president and father of the Namibian nation. Welcome back. That, of course, was an engagement with veteran diplomat and political analyst Dr. Kairam Mwende. We spoke to him earlier for his take on the life and times of Namibia's founding president and father of the Namibian nation. If you're just joining us, welcome to you and yours. You tuned into a very special broadcast coming to you live across all NBC platforms, television, online, and radio. We are paying homage to the life and legacy of Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma. Now, Dr. Nujoma's body will be lying in state here at Parliament Gardens until tomorrow morning, from where it will move to the Independence Stadium for the official memorial service, scheduled to start at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Dr. Nujoma's body will again lie in state at the Independence Stadium until Saturday morning. Saturday, that's the 1st of March, 2025. And at about 9 o'clock, the procession will move to the Heroes Acre on the outskirts of the Namibian capital for Dr. Nujoma to be taken to his final resting place. Now, I now have the honor to sit down with one of the most legendary Namibians, someone who has, particularly over the past 12 months, become synonymous with comfort, synonymous for a space that is safe, and she has been doing such an exceptional job to contribute to our well-being during very difficult times through song. She goes by the name of Esme Songbird. Greetings, Esme. What a privilege, what an honor to sit down with you and to express gratitude. Thank you for who you've become for this country. Thank you for the shoulder that you're providing through your beautiful music and your lovely songs and your incredible voice.
Thank you so much for having me. What an honor and what a humbling experience for myself. And wow, thank you. Thank you, Namibia. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Esme Songbird. Now, for Namibians who do not know who you are and who have been wondering, who is this icon? Who is this legend? Where is she coming from? What is her context? Please tell us a bit more about you.
My name is Esmeralda Kachukuru, and my stage name is short for Esmeralda, Esme Songbird. I remember back in the days when I was performing at the Last Man Standing, the first newspaper article that I made, they named me Songbird. And I liked the ring of it, and I took it for myself. I hail from the south, Malta here to be exact. I'm a Nama, Damara, Herero, Oshuvambo mix. I'm a whole Namibian,
Beautiful.
a proud Namibian daughter, and what an honor it is, honestly, for me to be here.
The honor is ours to have you. And we lost our sitting president, Dr. Hage Geingob, barely a year ago. And during that very difficult time for us as a nation, you came through in the manner that you did. Talk to us about how it has been for you to serve your people, your leaders in this way.
When I got the call that Sunday and I was told the opening service is at the residence of our president, our late president.
That is Sunday, 4 February 2024.
4 February 2024.
Yeah.
I was in shock. And I was with them at his final birthday, not knowing it was his last. I was there when we were welcoming him back from South Africa when he went for the doctors. And nobody saw death coming, you know, and I wasn't prepared. But when the call came, I availed myself wholeheartedly. And I did not just stood there as Esme, but I stood there for us Namibians. And God has given me a talent. Why must I hide it somewhere or not make use of it? And it's amazing how my craft and my talent has been appreciated by my country. It's something that I'm still in awe about, you know, just to look back and see how I've been called by the State House to come and be part of the memorial services and the treatment that I got all through the services and the remembrance of our late president and now of our founding father. What an honor. And I'm just looking at myself from somebody else's perspective. I'm like, how did you get here, little girl? How did you do it? And it's merely by the grace of God. Not that I'm the best singer in the country, but it's only the grace of God. And I mean, the task was laid upon me to console our people through song. So I composed a few songs, and I kept my foundation on the hymns that we all know, you know, and to have my team, Kali, my backing vocals, my guys who supported me throughout. It was amazing. It was very humbling for myself personally.
Thank you for sharing that. I have to tell you this afternoon I got goosebumps. Dr. Nujoma's body is lying in state here, and so many Namibians have come to pay their last respects. And when you and your band started performing the song that we have come to know as the Hage song, it was such a special moment. It was such a sad moment, but deeply special. What does it feel like to perform that song and to now perform it while we are here saying goodbye to our founding president?
You know, that song, it's a celebratory but a deep spiritual song that is calling us home. And to think that we all are going to take that road one day. We will all go home. And we will all be called home. Will I be ready when it's my time? And our founding father has lived a life fully. You know, he was in his years of grace.
Oh.
And it's a life fully lived. Our late President Hage also, he was in his 80s. His people have lived their life. And they have given their life to our country. And to sing that song for these legends, what an honor. Even if I'm one day also called home and we play back these videos, then somebody will also sing it for me. SMS called home. I just hope it's not soon.
That is deeply special. You know, President Nujoma has been hailed as a unifier. We have heard how he was against tribalism, and so was President Kengop, right? For me, what I witnessed this afternoon was so deeply special. Even those not familiar with Khoi Khoi Goba very proudly sing that song. It has become a national hymn. It's become a treasure. And it also demonstrates that the power of music, which is art in its very purest form, has no business with language, has no business with proficiency. It unites without us having to understand each word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And with that song, people that don't even understand, when I have loaded it on socials, they're like, can you please translate? But before they even know the translation, they already love it. It's the tone, it's the melody, it's the rhythm, that Ubuntu, African hymn vibe that the song carries. Yeah.
So you've grown as a team, and that's what we're also witnessing today. And my understanding is it's just Namibians who love music, who love to surf through song. And you came together as a group, and you're performing in the manner that you are. Talk to us about that element, please.
We did not rehearse. We did not even have a list of songs. As we are sitting there, we are like, we are reading the room, we are reading the vibe, the atmosphere. Obviously, we don't want to dance now already because we are viewing the body and we want to pay respect to that. So we are doing slow songs, but songs that everybody can relate to, songs that we grew up listening to in church. So we came together from all walks of Windhoek life, and then we are like, guys, we're going to do this. We have the keyboardist, we have the pianist here. So there's your mic, and then I take the lead, and then we just do it. And it's amazing how our vocals can just come together and marry, you know, into a beautiful melody and harmony that it gives.
What is it that you believe we need to do as artists, as musicians, as vocalists, to keep honoring the legacy of our leaders, our fallen heroes? Because artists also have such an incredible contribution to make. What do you believe it is that we need to do?
Just imagine this, everything without music. Just imagine this background that we are hearing was not there. I just feel music has a very sentimental, deep role it plays when it comes to emotional things like this. It can ease the pain. It can also give us hope. And what we can do as a nation for the artist industry is just to keep on supporting. The support, the moral support, you know, to buy the music, to show up to the events, just to give that support as a nation that will carry the musicians very far. And our music industry is blessed, I must tell you. We have amazing singers and musicians out there.
As we're preparing to finally say goodbye to Dr. Nujoma in less than 2 days' time, what message do you have for your fellow Namibians?
Dr. Nujoma was my mother's era, and I could remember back in the days my mom was schooling in Gibeon, and it was the apartheid time, and how we fought for all the Namibians, irrespective, regardless their skin color, being Nama or Damara or Herero, he fought for the Namibians. And with his passing, I have seen that we are really united as a nation, and that is one thing that will carry us. After laying down this great man, what are we left with as Namibians? And that should be unity. Doesn't matter what tribe, what race, from which region we are. Let's just unite as a nation. and stand firmly. Let these deaths be a glue to us Namibians, so we can be just that togetherness, wherever, whenever, however. As a Namibian, you are a Namibian before you are in whatever political preference. You are a Namibian before you are from whatever church. That spirit of unity.
Esmeralda K. Eos, we appreciate you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your craft. May your territory be increasingly enlarged. May you grow in leaps and bounds regarding your profession. May you continue to serve.
Thank you.
And may all of your dreams come to fruition. Thank you very much for the flowers that you give us. So we also give you your flowers.
Thank you so
while
much.
You can still smell
Thank
them.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you have it, Esme, or Esmeralda, if you so wish, Namibia's most renowned songbird, speaking to us about how all of this had transpired. She is a warm hug. She's a source of great strength, and she serves so beautifully, doing her part for the Namibian people. Now, we continue to bring you scenes from Parliament Gardens, where the body of Dr. Nujoma will be lying in state until tomorrow morning. We'll also be speaking to some members of the public who have been standing in long queues just to get the opportunity to say goodbye to Dr. Nujoma for one final time. So keep it locked here on all your NBC platforms.
I look away across the sea where mansions are prepared for me, and through the shining glory show my heaven, my own, forevermore. My heaven, my own, forevermore. My heaven, my own, forevermore. My heaven, my own, forevermore.
We're now joined by a member of the public, Madam Salva Kidder, to talk to us about the significance of her presence here whilst the body of President Nujoma lies in state at Parliament Gardens. Greetings, Madam Kidder, and thank you very much for making time for us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Please tell us, thank you for your time. Talk to us about why it was important for you, Madam Kidder, to come pay your respect to President Nujoma.
Okay. Good evening first. I came because Mr. Dr. Sam Nujoma, our father of the nation, he is one of the iconic figures of Africa and Namibia. It's not only for Namibia, but for the whole Africa and the world. I came to say goodbye to him. Although it is a sad moment for us to lose a hero, but he will always be in our hearts. And we will always remember him for his sacrifices until Namibia get independence, and also lead us to build a good Namibia and to guide the youth of Namibia.
Thank you for sharing that. When did you first hear the name Sam Nujoma?
I heard the name of Sam Nujoma in 1990 when Namibia get independence. That was the first time for me to hear his name. But he was also among some of the heroes and figures of Africa, like Nasser from Egypt, Hawari Boumediene from Algeria, many leaders who are also sacrifices their lives in order to get their countries independent and to break the chain of the oppression of the South African apartheid regime.
Yeah. What do you believe was Dr. Nujoma's most significant contribution to this country, especially after having broken that chain of apartheid?
Actually, he had a vision how to reconcile the nation and for the forgiveness that he always talk about it, so the people can forgive the past and only look forward for the future to build a modern Namibia.
You earlier highlighted a number of Dr. Nujoma's peers.
Yeah.
And who also played each of them a significant role as far as the liberation of their people is concerned. Talk to us about what this means, seeing that that era is no more.
It is no more in Africa, but in some other parts of the world is still on. Like if we talk about the Palestinian and what is going on in Gaza, this is still apartheid regime, which I think we also condemn the way that the government of Israel is treating the people of Gaza.
So what is it that we need to do to honor our heroes' legacy, to see to it that those nations who are not yet free also become free? If we want to honor the legacy, if we want to honor the contributions that Dr. Nujoma and others made, what must we do to ensure that others also become free?
We have to honor Dr. Nujoma for his vision. Actually, he's a leader, and that leader is always having followers, and his legacy of getting the country liberated from the apartheid regime.
So in less than 2 days' time, we'll be finally saying goodbye to Dr. Nujoma as he will be taken to his final resting place at the Heroes Acre. And it's quite a heavy moment for Namibia and her people. Do you perhaps have a message to the Namibian people at this moment, at this juncture?
At this moment, I would like to send my deep condolences to the Namibian nations for losing a hero and a father of the nation, who will always be remembered by us and by our new generation who is coming forward, because he built a history for Namibia and for the African countries.
Any final words, Madam Kudder, before we let you go?
I'm very thankful for you, Kirsten, and thank you for MBC.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing
so
those very precious thoughts with us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Madam Salva Kudder, she's a member of the public, talking to us about why it was important for her to come pay her respect, why it was important for her to come say goodbye to Dr. Nujoma. Dr. Nujoma's body is lying in state here at Parliament Gardens until tomorrow morning, and we're still witnessing a good number of people flocking here to come say goodbye. Welcome back. Now, Dr. Nujoma has been hailed as a Pan-Africanist par excellence, but some are of the view that we may have not gone deep enough into the issue of Pan-Africanism and how that was very closely linked to the ideals that he stands for. One Namibian who's very serious about this matter goes by the name of Frans Kolike, and he now joins us to tell us more. Greetings, Frans, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to highlight the issue on Pan-Africanism.
Before we get into the particulars of Pan-Africanism and the role that Dr. Nujoma played regarding Pan-Africanism, talk to us about what this loss means for you and means for the people of Namibia.
I think really we are talking of the Republic of Namibia. For us to trace Comrade founding as a fountain of our statehood, as a country really, I think being someone who championed this revolution of liberation movement, of achieving independence, and not only in Namibia, it transcends. For now, the war that we are fighting now is for us to have a continent that is free. And I think that's really the area that I want to engage you on the issue of Pan-Africanism and how much of this legacy we can take forward to sustain the continent's prosperity.
Very well. Before we get into those particulars, there could be people tuned in who may not be well versed in Pan-Africanism and not too familiar with its fundamentals. So as we prepare to get into the role that Dr. Nujoma played regarding Pan-Africanism, talk to us about what the fundamentals are that underpin Pan-Africanism.
I think the key one is unity of the African people, unity of the African people, unity of the African economy. So these are the main that all this gathering that you see in Addis Ababa. The question is, how can we harmonize our trade? How can we harmonize the business? How can we harmonize our people? So this was the aim that people like Kwame Nkrumah stood for, and that was also the basis that we received this support, this solidarity during our heydays of liberation movements. Yeah, so it's to do with the unity of the continent.
How did Dr. Nujoma tangibly demonstrate the fundamentals of Pan-Africanism?
I think to crystallize the legacy of Comrade founding, for example, Namibia as a country, we were the one pioneering the African anthem. We sing African anthem in most of our occasions. It's because of that leadership, that decisive leadership, to say if we are serious about the continental vision, this is one of the contributions that he made. So all across national event, you have the AU national anthem being sung. I think we start like that. That is one of the projects that have sunk in the mind and heart of Namibians.
But certainly it needs to extend beyond only symbolism. How do we as Namibians, particularly younger Namibians, internalize those fundamentals so that we are able to practice them and live them?
I think the question of internalizing and live those values is very important. And it's still to do with our education. I see when you see our institutions, tertiary institutions, they are collaborative project. And I think that's one way also. And also when it comes to fee, you see African students, there is also a certain quota of how much they pay, not like international students from other continents. So there are those synergies that are being done to harmonize this project.
What do you believe we need to do, those surviving Dr. Nujoma, those of us who need to continue where he and other leaders left off, but particularly regarding Pan-Africanism, what must happen?
I think we really have to be serious with this project. Samara Machel would say, for a nation to develop, tribe must die. So ultimately, we must have the tribe that we call African tribe. And that is the ideal of, once we achieve the ultimate aim of the Pan-Africanism, we would have the tribe, African tribe.
Do you believe it's possible during our generation? Is it a goal that's attainable?
Yeah, they say it's a building block. We have to build that block as we go on, and we must live it's a step forward always in the journey. So it's not possible running like a marathon, but building step by step, you could go far.
Any final thoughts, Franz?
I think as we prepare ourselves to bid farewell to this revolutionary man, this revolutionary figure, this revolutionary giant of our continent, there's a lot that we can get from the spirit of founding Father Comrade Nujoma. And this question of Pan-Africanism is serious. If we could engage ourselves in this project, trying to do whatever we do, we work towards achieving the continental project, integration of the African economy. That will be a very good thing, since he was the last standing man of that era. So I think let's honor him and have in mind the idea of African unity. Yeah.
Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing those insights, Franz.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That was Franz Kolike talking to us about the fundamentals of Pan-Africanism, talking to us about the manner in which Dr. Nujoma contributed to Pan-Africanism, but also the responsibility that vests in us to ensure that its ideals relating to particularly unity will be accomplished in our lifetime.
So weary when troubles come and my heart burdens me, then I am still and waiting in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
There is no life without its hunger, each restless heart fit so imperfectly. When I am sick and waiting in His wonders, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. So I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on raise me up to more than I can be.
Raise me up to more than I can be.
Raise me up to more than I can be.
We're seeing those visuals as Namibians continue to pay their last respect, that is to Dr. Sam Safishuna Nujoma, the founding president of the Republic of Namibia. Now, reporter Richelin Oses had time to engage Captain Tensai Kidane, who is a pilot. In fact, he flew the founding president from exile to Namibia over 3 decades ago. Now, let's take a look at this conversation.
Thank you very much. Now we are still at the residence of Dr. Nujoma. Now I am joined by Tensai Bahanu, who was the pilot that flew President Nujoma from exile to Namibia. Thank you so much for joining us and talking to us. Can you briefly take us through the time that you met our late founding president?
It was in 1989 in September. We flew President Sam Nujoma and his colleagues from Luanda to Windhoek. At that time, he was the leader of freedom movement, SWAPO, and then we had a lot of SWAPO freedom fighters on board that flight. And then that flight was really historical. He asked us to tell him when we cross the Namibian border to let him in to the flight deck, to the cockpit. So we let him in. That's the first time I met him, and his beard was turning gray at that time, and he had a very positive smile. He was very happy when he just crossed into the Namibian border. It was my second trip at that time to Namibia, because about 6 months earlier, I've flown with peacekeeping troops, UN peacekeeping troops to Grootfontein. But in September, we flew His Excellency Dr. Sam Nujoma and his comrades to Windhoek. And it was a historical moment.
How did you feel having that honor of flying our founding president? As you're saying, it was a historic moment, but can you take us back and reflect on some of the emotions that you had with the big responsibility that was bestowed upon you?
At that time, we never knew that it was a very dangerous mission. That's what he told me after the independence. He told me that that was a historical flight, which was a very dangerous one. There have been some dangerous move can happen to him at that time, but he even insisted to come and participate in the future Namibian nation, for a Namibian nation to be born.
Mm-hmm. Did you keep contact with Dr. Nujoma after you flew him back here to Namibia?
Yes, we had contact. I used to come and see, visiting him and his family as well. His son, and also his daughter, and his wife as well.
How did you receive the news of his passing?
A friend of mine just posted to me that he just passed, and I feel very, very sad. Still now, the grief is there.
Are there perhaps some private moments which were a highlight for you in the time that you knew him and that you would spend with him?
Yes, at the State House, the former State House, he invited me there, and then we had a private talk. And he told me how he had liberated and established the Namibian nation. And it was a very private one. It was a good moment for me.
Are there lessons you learned from him?
Yes. His determination. He told me that the election, the referendum, should be carried out while he was away. But he insisted that there will not be any referendum taking place if he's out of the country. So that's why he, even though it was a dangerous mission, he came to Namibia to be present during the election, the referendum time, and then later on SWAPO won, and then liberation came to Namibia.
You spoke about the mission of bringing him back being one that was risky. So why did you feel the need to still go ahead and partake in this mission that was risky at the time?
Well, we were assigned for a duty. So the company, Ethiopian Airlines, assigned me to flew him in. So I had no chance. I had to just follow orders and bring him in, even though it was a risky operation.
Is there anything else that you would say that maybe not just the people from Ethiopia, but generally the people from the globe would have learned from the founding president, and something that they can hold on to? Or how would you then also celebrate his legacy?
His legacy should be celebrated by the whole of African nations, because of Namibia was liberated, then South Africa became liberated too. So it's a big lesson for all African leaders, even to follow his legacy of giving up his position to the others.
Perhaps just a message of condolence and support for the Namibian nation and the global at large from you.
Yeah, I hope the Namibian people will get out of this sorrow very quickly. I wish them. And I wish Namibia will prosper soon.
How old were you then when you took upon this mission to bring back the founding president to Namibia?
Yeah, I was 31 years old at that time. And then we had also other Namibian pilots who just graduated from Ethiopian Airlines Pilot Training School on board the flight. And other pilots and technicians at that time.
Thank you so much for talking to us. That's right, as we are remembering the late founding president and father of the Namibian nation. We keep talking to more people who had an impact on, and as they bring their stories, it becomes clearer that our founding president was one who would be known anywhere and everywhere, as we did not see any race or color. We have that to still.
That was Richelin Oses, our colleague there, interviewing the pilot who flew the founding president and his delegation back to Namibia. However, we are changing things up as the news team is ready to bring you the news at 8, and we are crossing over to them right now.